Hey, everybody, it's time for another daily drop here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI publisher Andrew Jones, and the topic today, fun times for Carolina football. Now, I know that the Twitterverse out there is not happy about things. I can understand why. I I get it. I get the negatives, guys. I understand the concerns about the defense, especially in the fourth quarter. And if you don't know the stats, I'm going to tell them to you. You got to know. The team knows. We've asked players and coaches this week about it, but in the last four ACC games, in the fourth quarter alone, which is the equivalent of one full game, the Tar Heels have allowed 65 points, 767 yards, and 39 first downs. It's horrible. However, other than the second quarter at Georgia Tech, they've been pretty good in those games defensively. And that's what Gene Chizik brought up when I asked him about it the other day. They gave up 142 yards first three quarters to Duke. Okay, so I get that people are upset with the defense. I get that people are upset with Gene. I understand it completely. I think the frustration is validated. The red zone offense became a major issue this past weekend because they had to settle for field goals with four straight trips to the red zone. That was a span of 17 snaps in the red zone in which Omarion Hampton touched the ball just four times. Asked Chip Lindsey about it. Asked Mac. Well, Mac addressed it a little bit. Asked Drake May about it because sometimes he has the ability to make a call at the line of scrimmage. How many of those did he opt not to give Drake Omarion the ball? All that kind of stuff. I know that that's a concern that fans have. That's fueling some of the negativity. I know the special team blunders is something that was there from the outset. It's been there all year long. Mac tried to gloss it over a little bit, saying, hey, you focus on the negatives, not the positives. There are a lot of positives with some special teams. Like Noah Burnett is a great story. We got a story coming on him this week. It's a fantastic story. But so I get the concerns, but let's look past that. And if you want objectivity about the concerns, you have to accept and embrace objectivity about all the positives. And the first positive that jumps out is the fact that this team is 8-2. They're 8-2, guys. They won 5 games in 2 years before Mac returned. They won 8 games in the Mitch Trubisky year. 8. They won 11 the year before that. That was a flare-up. Otherwise, they haven't won more than 8 games in a season, but just twice since Mac left in 1997. One more win this year makes it a third time and a second consecutive year. You have to understand the history of Carolina football to give you the proper perspective to appreciate a lot of the good things that have been going on in this program and are still going on to this day. 8-2, hey, they could end up 8-5. I recognize that. And that's not, and someone's going to come say, hey, boy, that daily drop that AJ did, that didn't settle too well. That didn't sit well. That kind of flamed out. Okay. I'm not suggesting they're going to go 11-2 or 10-3 or 9-4. And I'm not suggesting they're going to go 8-5. What I'm telling you is at this moment in time, 8-2 should be celebrated. It's just the 22nd time in Carolina football history that at this stage of the season, the program has won at least 8 games. Just 22 times. They started playing in the 1880s, man. And they didn't have a team a couple of years during World War I, and that was it. So this doesn't happen very often. And it's the second straight year because they were 9-1 at this point last year. And then a couple of years before that, they were an Orange Bowl team. Get my drift? Okay. The other thing that I think is really cool and you need to celebrate, I know some people are negative about this too because that's the world we live in today. The fan storming the field the other day was an awesome thing for Carolina football. And think what you want about, oh my God, I can't believe we stormed the field and we beat Duke. You're North Carolina football. Celebrate wins, guys. I'm not saying storm the field no matter who you beat, but given the nature of the game, a game that they should have won big, they should have put Duke away early. They blew those opportunities. But you know what? And then they blew a 12-point lead in the fourth quarter, but they still found a way to win. Drake was a stud. Omarion was a stud. Tez Walker was a stud. Noah Burnett was a stud. And Elijah Huzzy, who's been a stud most of the year on defense, made a play at the end. And I'll tell you, the defense forced that field goal in the first overtime session. So they recovered some. That was a good series for them. And you win 47-45, a thrilling, exciting game that had a little bit of everything, including some bad calls, some of them that helped Carolina. Why not storm the field? Why not feel good about going 8-2? Why not letting all that emotion pour out? Because a month ago, we're talking CFP. I was on a national radio show and they asked me about CFP. And then I did a podcast about it. And then suddenly you lose to Virginia, which is an awful loss. You lose at Georgia Tech. In the manner it happened, it was an awful loss. And then here you are blowing a game against Duke that you should have won big early, but they still won. And the outpouring of emotion by the students embracing and loving this football team. And then on top of that, the celebration of Drake chanting one more year. The scene of Jeremy Sharp, the director of football communications and branding, escorting Drake to the ACC network podium, or that platform for to do an interview after the show. Going through all those people. Guys, I don't remember ever seeing something like that with North Carolina football. Some of you may not agree with them storming the field for beating Duke. I think it's great. I think for UNC football to have that kind of moment, for tweets of fans on the field and jumping up and down and the go to hell Duke stuff going viral everywhere, like major sports media outlets retweeting it or tweeting it out themselves. Big Game Boomer giving Carolina student section the #1 ranking for the weekend. Those things are good for the program. They're good for those kids, especially after what they'd been through the previous month. It's good for Mac, good for the staff. And I think you guys should embrace it and understand that these are good times for UNC football. Don't compare UNC to anything other than UNC. I ran a piece Tuesday evening with all the 8-2 seasons listed in there. Anybody can see it. It's not a premium content item. It's a free content item. It's there for everyone to see. And that's the point. They're not 8-2 very often. They don't storm the field very often. And they certainly don't have the outpouring of emotion that you saw Saturday night. The Miami game, great atmosphere. The App State game, great atmosphere. Virginia was a disappointment, and I called everybody out on it. I called the fans out on it. Got a lot of backlash for it. I still stand by it. I also thought Campbell was a good turnout for the crowd. Saturday night against Duke was awesome. Two of the four best atmospheres, maybe five, that I've experienced covering North Carolina football. And it started toward the end of the 96 season, have occurred in the last month. NC State in 2004 was incredible. Maybe 2012 up there too. Miami in 2004 was incredible. Florida State in 97. You got Miami and Duke this year. So I think that people need to step back a little bit, pump the brakes on all the negativity. Let's allow this season to play out. Let's see what happens in Death Valley this weekend. Let's see what happens in Raleigh the week after that. Let's see what happens in the postseason. Or you know what? Even after Raleigh, if they lose those two games and the defense falls apart in the fourth quarter, have at it. Gene Chizik and the staff will deserve it. They'll deserve the criticism if they have more horrid fourth quarters. Got to get that fixed. Got to get the special teams fixed. Got to not forget about Omarion in the fourth quarter against Virginia, and you can't forget about Omarion in the red zone. I get all that stuff, but I also get the rest of the story, and the rest of the story is pretty damn good. So Carolina fans, you need to embrace this season and all of its positives, and just for a day, think about those things instead of why you want Gene fired, why you don't think Chip's the right guy, why you think Mac's too old, needs to retire, and all that kind of junk. Things are not that bad for North Carolina football. And quite frankly, it's better right now than it has usually been over the last 130 some odd years. Tell me what you think. If you agree, go ahead and click like on this video. If you disagree, go ahead and click like on this video anyway. make sure you subscribe to our channel. Share the video with all your Carolina Tar Heel friends. Let them know we are here. And of course, if you're not a premium subscriber to our channel, go on over there. It's just $8.33 a month. It's the same price it's been since I took over this site August 1st, 2014. If you like our content on YouTube, go ahead and become a subscriber to our channel. That's how we pay our staff. That's a big, important way of how we operate, we function. We are a media outlet, and it costs money to do this because none of us are doing it for free. So we appreciate that support. We appreciate everybody that checks out our videos and goes over and signs up and becomes a premium member of our site. Plus, you're going to get all kinds of intel we don't give away here on these videos. And make sure you hit the notification bell so you get an update every time we upload a video, which is often. I'm AJ, and I'll see you tomorrow.